in the mid to late game because she does have windows that you can look to abuse. Against the Black Shield, it can often be challenging. And so I feel like Schalke are looking to get a lot of early game leads and then run off the back of that.
Because I want to add on to the LeBlanc part here in terms of early game. It's just the gank setup is so strong. You have guaranteed mobility with your jump. You have chains against a target without a lot of mobility on the side of Niski. So there is a lot of good gank opportunities for Schalke. If you're on the side of Splyce, like ideally your bot lane gets to just free farm. Like you don't want Copy to fall behind because that's always the problem about Vayne is no wave clear whatsoever. So the moment you start getting pushed onto your turret and if you can't actually fight back, you don't do anything. And you're kind of forced to sit in a side lane in the late game as well to continue catching farm because you can't hold mid without wave clear. And that again is a problem and why Vayne has so often not been considered a viable competitive pick. But if you're Splyce,
late game deficient.
I know, you know, once you get to the point where you can actually melt through front lines and you find Upset alone and you kill him in 3 shots. Like we've all been there, we've all faced the Vayne. She's one of the hardest champs to deal with if she is ahead. Getting her ahead, however, is pretty difficult. I think a lot of it comes down to protecting Niski in this case. And if he's actually winning mid, he will also therefore protect Cobby and bot.
And I can't wait to see Cobby in these late game fights. I really hope we get there because we only have to think back to the Fnatic versus Splyce matchup where it was largely Cobby keeping them alive with Niski's help against Fnatic in those late game fights. His Varus was phenomenal, his positioning was great.
Oh, level 1!
Really good performance.
Niski just trading in here. Ignite goes down as well. New talk about try and turn this one around. As the electrocute, whereas Niski running the phase rush and the barrier, so has held on to a summoner, going to heal up with that corrupted potion, but has gone through all of his charges.
Here we go! 2 junglers!
It's a battle royale in the mid lane. No, it's not. They walk away. Amazing comes back.
We just said this. We just talked about the mid lane in the early game, the gank setup around LeBlanc, obviously not level 1, but also Niski. If he's winning this mid lane, he protects the Vayne in the bottom lane because Nikto can't leave. Niski can roam first. Such an exciting matchup between 2 of the best mid laners we have, and then 2 junglers getting Rift Scuttlers, potentially staying around for some ganks. Nukta going in for another one, wants to proc of the electrocute.
Now remember, we're going to take a look at some of the stats from Niski in game 1. He had a phenomenal performance. 2 kills and assists at the 50-minute mark, one of those being a solo kill. A huge CS discrepancy by the 15-minute mark, and 1,300 gold in his favor. He played phenomenally, and Deficio, you talked a little bit about it last game, the playoff buff that we often see from this guy.
It's just when it really matters, and it's happened multiple times in his career. It's not just the last spring split. He did it over in North America in his first professional split as well for Team Envy, where when the team needed him to carry, he actually stepped up and he did it. He got them into playoffs. He did well in playoffs itself. And Niski was a player last split, but we didn't talk a lot about him during the regular season because he wasn't the big carry on Splyce. It was all about, you know, Cobby or Odoamne trying to win them games until playoffs, and it was all about Niski. And this split, it's been all about Niski. And he's actually stayed at that top level. Had a good last game. He's the gank setup. See if they can force a flash. Answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is indeed no. Amazing. Not wanting to body slam underneath the tower when Niski still had both of his summoners up.
So one of the cool things as well about this matchup with LeBlanc versus Cassio is that when LeBlanc jumps in, the moment Niski has Miasma, it's really easy to punish her because Miasma prevents you from using any of your mobility escapes, which means that if you ever try to play too aggressive and the jungler is around, you could be punished very easily. The other big thing is that her abilities are pretty telegraphed. When LeBlanc jumps forward, you know when she's going to jump back. Throw a Miasma on there, throw a poison on there. Your chances of landing those skill shots are much more in your favor.
Just want to bring everyone's attention to the fact that there is a point of view stream for this game as well. We're tracking Odoamne up in that top lane, twitch.tv/Riot Games 2. You can see
he's buying items.
Yeah, but he played the Sion. We haven't seen Sion since spring finals when Whippo played it and obviously won because they went 3-0. So yeah, there's something secret about this champion that perhaps we don't know.
It's really good in laning phase, and it's always been one of the best tanks in laning phase. And now on this patch as well, the W was buffed. He's getting more HP per minion he takes down, just increased by 1 of
tankier.
He gets tankier, he gets more free stats from it. And I just want to see, because Sign is one of the tanks where you can be a big playmaker, but so is Puppey. It's just a little bit different. Puppey is the I'm gonna knock you away from me and try and split you up in a fight or disengage the fight, where Sign is I'm gonna all in you and then my team will follow up. But definitely 2 of the playmaking top laners. And I'm actually glad when it is a tank meta on top side, that at least it's Poppy versus Sion.
Yes.
And not necessarily Marco versus Mundo every game.
And you only have to look at the stats from Vizichachi to know that this guy is known for his Poppy. I love some of the comments that I've read about it, like a Poppy Chachi skin should be made just because of how proficient he is in the champion. He was one of the OG players. He qualified back when Poppy was a weird champion to the LCS. He's been playing it really successfully throughout the split. He's had so many great highlight plays. And the matchup itself is quite interesting because you do have the W that interrupts dashes, but I do believe that the Sion ulti will ignore it and go through it anyway because it's unstoppable. But also you can use that unstoppable on the Sion to ignore the ulti on Poppy as well. So there are a couple of advantages in favor of the Sion.
And the thing the Poppy W can block is a Vayne.
Yes.
What does Vayne want to do? Dash around, get out of this small, fights right there. Do not want to get bursted down and get a lot of time. Like if Chachi gets onto Copy, it's a big way of trying to protect him. But then suddenly Kasing is there to try and peel form with the Morgana. Like that's what I love about
Dem too.
It's true. Like there's a ways to get him away. Like there's just so many things in these pick and ban phases where it's like these small wins against each other. You're trying like, oh, you get a Braum first pick, that's expected. But then look, we get the Sion that was banned in the first game. Let's see if Odoamne can actually carry on this champion. They waited with that 80 carry pick for second phase, seeing 80 carry bans, preparing that Vayne.
And when you have teams with support staffs like both of these teams, experience, you look at Peter Dunn, Duke on the side of Splyce, Schalke, Andre, a massive support staff behind them as well. You expect to see these eccentricities come out in the draft. You expect the best of 5 to adapt, to evolve. And that's exactly what we're seeing coming into this game.
So we've talked a lot about many matchups across the board. Just very quickly, I want to talk about this bot lane matchup because it's a Vayne. And very rarely will you see, but so far in the laning phase, this is where she struggles the most. Very weak. Fisher, you commented on how she has very little wave clear. Her trading can be pretty good, but often against many melee bruiser supports, even then it can be difficult and you're forced to play defensively. But Ezreal really struggles to punish a Vayne in lane. And that's one of the reasons why it's kind of a safer matchup. And so far in the laning phase, Kobe has been doing pretty well. Interestingly though, he's rushing the BF sword. I would kind of expect a Blade of the Ruin King rush normally from the Vayne into then something like a Rage Blade.
I want to see if it is a Storm Racer rush, which I've seen quite a few times from Vayne. It's one of the newer things after Storm Racer became such a strong item that it's hard to ignore it if you want some sort of power spike on one item, where Blade, especially against other squishy targets, doesn't do a whole lot for you.
Makes sense.
But it obviously does delay a little bit of what Vayne wants to do later on in the game, because the thing about Storm Racer, fantastic when you get it, doesn't synergize that well with all the other items. It doesn't add a whole lot in terms of percentage. Doesn't add a whole lot in terms of crit that you actually want to get that multiplies with some of the other items. But I just want to see with Kobe what ends up being the final build. It could just be Storm Racer and something like a Phantom Dancer on his side, which has been a typical
Rage Blade in second too, similar to what we said.
It's possible. Having looked through some of his past builds, he does like to go for the Storm Racer Infinity Edge Rapid Fire combo, maybe into Mikura Scimitar at the end as well. So we will keep our eyes on that as we keep our eyes on the junglers once again.
Yeah, and we also have to just keep eye on how does Splyce keep funneling farm towards him. They have not ganked his lane. We mentioned they don't have to. They can just let him farm, do nothing else. Cersei just protecting mid all the time. It's all he's doing. Getting vision around mid for Cassiopeia here, making sure Amazing is not there, killing Niski. But once we get past the laning phase, getting farm on Vayne is difficult because you're sacrificing pressure on the map.
Yes.
As we highlight, she's slow at pushing. When she's pushing, other teams just go to the other lanes. They just go top side and say, fine, we kill your top lane, and instead you can't do a whole lot. So that's always a sacrifice. Nukeduck though, not getting ahead in this game with the LeBlanc. Which I'll say not falling behind like last game, so I guess that's a positive overall.
It's the first time we've seen him play LeBlanc this split. Again,
another new champion.
Another unique champion for Nukeduck. He's sitting on 16 unique champions
Is there
now.
anything this man can't play?
Probably not. I mean,
Well, he did lose on some of these.
he's done some...
Hey, but he played them.
Yeah, that's true. He's done some Ribbon mid back in Season 3, 4 as well, but the problem is the graphic is almost running out of space. We can move the Vlad up and add in the LeBlanc, and then we can't really allow him to play anything else unless you start putting him on the left side.
Every time I see this graphic, all I think of is that, that meme, where you slap the roof of the car and like, this bad boy is full of mid lane.
This mid lane is full of champions.
This guy, very diverse. He's often the guy that just fills what the team needs. And on this LeBlanc so far, 10 minutes into the game, he hasn't found an early game advantage. And that's not the end of the world for LeBlanc. Once she gets one item is where you see some of her real strength, especially when she hits like level 9, level 11, when she gets a second point in her ulti. I want to see her then try and force a couple of plays.
I also think her late game is not as bad as a lot of people want it to be.
It's true.
The big problem is obviously how difficult she is to execute in team fights, because if you jump in at the wrong time and you jump into like a bunch of shields, you don't end up doing a whole lot, or you jump in, you get instantly CC'd, that you can take taken out. But the fact that we are back to the W into ulti as a massive AoE combo can be huge in late game team fights, and her damage is of course very high. It's just harder to execute than maybe a Cassiopeia, where it's pretty straightforward of whoever's in front of me, I will shoot at them.
I think like vision control is really important in late game fights too, because she's always looking for flanks rather than to just group up with the team, use that mobility, and now we see a couple of ganks on the top side.
Nobody's going to meet in the top lane. Odoamne on the chase towards Chachi. Explosive cast will knock them away. You can see Nukeduck trying to get up here, trying to join his team, but not really going to be able to do too much. Perhaps a tower dive in the offing though.
Oh, let's see, looking for another play. Amazing is stepping away, however, just as Nukeduck actually showed up on the top side. Amazing was like, nah, not going for anything aggressive here.
Nukeduck's fine though. He had the push in mid. There was a full mid wave running into Niski, so he's got plenty of time to make that move up, and he won't lose anything off the back of it. And it will give Amazing the opportunity to steal away some jungle camps, so small advantage gained, except for the fact that Chachi did lose his flash.
While this is happening, the Schalke bot lane, while they're not winning a lot on CS, they are starting to really push into the turret here. They're starting to get some damage onto it. The shield plus tier back is great for Upset for actually some additional poke damage. Oh, he's sneaking down behind them.
This thing is quite far back here, but Niski looking for that petrifying gauge. Kobe on the chase as well. Miasma lands only onto the Braum. Upset's already jumped away. He'll use as well.
He gets a stun.
Petrifying gaze, stare into the eyes of death. Upset as Splyce draw burst blood.
Really good setup, but now
Nukeduck! Oh, Kobe just about shielded enough. The ignite's gonna tick. Can he heal up through it? No, he is done for, and Schalke answer back.
So mid laners trade kill for kill, but they're not done.
Nukeduck, jump forward. Amazing has popped the stopwatch there. He'll be safe for the moment.
Ooh, close set of early game exchanges. This is the kind of playmaking we wanted to see, except we wanted to see it from
oh, he's on it back! He's on his way! Steadfast presence can't stop him. Chachi's going to knock him into the wall, actually, and the two tanks will continue to battle in the top lane. Chachi knows there's teleport that is available here.
2 teleports.
Both of them coming in to join him. They're looking for this top tower. This actually might be a very good macro play once again from Schalke.
Right there, 12 minutes of almost nothing happening, just farming back and forth into a bot lane fight, and then we get a lane swap from Schalke, grabbing the first turret of the game here. No way for Splyce to properly answer against it. Upset will secure this one. Want to make sure he gets as much gold as possible as well.
One thing that we didn't know was the fact that the Vayne is running heal, and on many AD carries these days, they are looking to use the teleport. And one of the big advantages you do have is you can make these quick map movements, and Schalke looked to take advantage of that off the back of this bot lane play. When Niski, he came in from behind, bot lane was just very overextended from the side of Schalke, and Splyce had a really good chain CC to find themselves the other kill, but then Nukeduck joins the fight as we very quickly jump to a bit of a top lane skirmish.
Nukeduck gets enough damage on the Kobe with the Ignite. And before that, obviously with Upset going down, even though he wasn't actually the initial target, he will be mad at himself for that one.
See, Chachi did push in that wave, and then Odo had to teleport back in. Meant that they got a little bit more damage on that tower before the double teleport came out.
Classic tank versus tank action, though. Just hitting each other a little bit, knocking each other away from the turret, while everyone is fighting on the other side.
And remember, guys, you can go watch this amazing tank-to-tank matchup on the Point of View stream.
Yeah, you can.
You have
Mid lane, mid lane, mid lane.
I'm not going to talk about it because Niski has to flash away from the explosive cast. Nukeduck jumps back forward. Niski! Oh my goodness, that was perfect! Nukeduck doesn't die to the poison, but Niski somehow survives.
Insane play right there from Niski. Perfectly timed ulti, almost kills Nukeduck. Corruption potion was ticking the entire time, making sure he did not die. Suddenly this game it's heating up, you know, both teams actually forcing plays against each other. We're out of the laning phase. Kobe, Stormrazor is completed. He only has an assist, didn't get the kill from before. Let's see if we get another fight around the Rift Herald.
Now, 4 members of Splyce are around this objective. Nukeduck was forced back after a great outplay from the side of Niski, but Schalke don't want to give up this objective for free.
Lowered there down to about 1,000 HP. Look at that, Amazing's been stunned up into the wall. He can't get away from this one. Kasing stopwatches himself to keep himself safe. Amazing's down. Rift Herald goes down as well. Splyce Kasing?
Wait, who secured the
This
Rift
one
Tower?
No one yet.
But they have to pick it up.
Wait, I
unless
think
somehow Schalke got it. Unless
I think
somehow
Schalke
Upset
got the
landed a
last
Mystic
hit.
shot. They must have done. Schalke must have stolen away the Rift Tower in the midst of it all because they are looking to try and take this Herald Emblem if they can. Upset jumps across the wall. Niski, one more shot for the concussive blows. That is a chain from Nukeduck. Lands the root, and Niski's not in the best of spots here at all. He's shut down. Odo with the flank now. Perhaps the Rift Tower's been a little bit of a bait. Upset knocked into the wall. Kobe on the chase. The Bane spotting has begun. He gets one. Kasing caught off towards the side as well. A counter trade, and Banda eventually picks up the Herald buff.
Ooh, couple kills traded back and forth. I'm hoping that the replay, the observers can give us a replay, but it was amazing that stole away the Rift Herald using his barrel that snuck underneath the unsuspecting Splyce members. Couple kills traded off the back of that as well. Schalke now sitting on a pretty healthy 1,000 gold lead.
And we'll get some damage on the bot lane to Chachi staying down here. Let's see the play against, and notice how amazing will send in the Q before he gets CC'd after this, and he's just gonna sit there while Niski turns around with Xerxes, deals a bit of damage onto it, and it will explode just about now.
And it was the Runic Echoes that ended up
It was the
stealing
Runic
it.
Echoes
And
that
then
got
he
it.
gets it to 6
Oh.
HP, last little proc.
Jungle difference, guys. Jungle
It's like,
difference.
all planned, guys. I will die for this.
But then, of course, there was a fight ensuing. Nukeduck picked up another kill. Upset traded his life to give... Oh, no, it wasn't Kobe that ended up securing the kill. Odoamne got it in the end.
Probably really wants these kills,
Yeah,
but he's
he
not
really
getting them.
does. 0, 1, and 3 right now. The Vayne coming along nicely.
All right, so obviously we mentioned before, Vayne without TP, so they couldn't match that play for the first third of the game. They went over to Schalke, a large reason for why they have a goal lead. But the fact that he's actually, even on farm, he's going towards the rapid fire cannon now is what we expect based on the builds from Solo Q that we highlighted before here, Medic. And we're gonna get more fights here.
Amazing getting onto Kasing. Did use the Black Shield to keep himself safe, but you can't keep yourself safe from 3 members of Schalke. Upset flashed forward and gets the kill in the end.
I actually want to mention this. It was something Vedias and myself looked a lot at in the VODs with Splyce. They have a habit of leaving Kasing alone in the river. Now, it might not be the Splyce team. It might actually be Kasing himself, who sometimes wants to stay a little bit longer for a quick position for a pick, or maybe to secure vision. Mid lane Nukeduck is going all in, but he's stepping back just at the right time. But it's actually something that's happened quite a bit for them, where it feels like, okay, they're trying to kill a ward. Everyone goes back to the lane to start pushing, except for Kasing. And then Splyce will lose their support.
And he didn't have his flash up. He didn't respect the ability for Schalke to punish. And it's just that awareness, right? Like, do you have the vision in order to make this play? No. Well, you end up getting punished for it. Now Schalke, they secured the top lane tier 1. They now have the Rift Herald and have their eyes set on the tier 1 in the mid as well. And so far this early game, going the way Schalke won. We talked about win conditions. We talked about how LeBlanc wants to get ahead in this early game. And even though for the first 10 minutes nothing happened, it's not the end of the world. It's a like 0% panic radar for Schalke. And so far they found those early kills.
Can they find Kobe?
Good.
Jump onto Kobe. Kobe, the Black Shield, that's not enough.
found him.
Nukeduck.
They found him,
That's
yeah.
a solo kill onto Kobe from Nukeduck.
Well, that's a Vayne versus a LeBlanc. She does have the completed Luden's Echo, and that's what happens when you land the full combo.
Well, we also mentioned this earlier, how out of laning phase is actually really difficult to play Vayne and find places on the map to farm. He just sat top lane, tried to secure a jungle camp, but you're so slow at everything you do. It's so easy to get enough time as a team playing against Vayne to set up the rest of the map, so you're not losing anything when you go top lane, where Kobe's like, guys, give me 2 minutes to push this wave, but it's never gonna happen. And Nukeduck just destroys him in basically one combo.
And once again, we see Nukeduck in a side lane pushing these towers down while the rest of his team plays somewhere else on the map. It worked out well for them last game, seems to be working out for them this game as well. And I think the question now becomes, can actually Splyce deal with Nukeduck? He has a 3-level advantage over Kobe. Maybe Niski can trade with him.
I mean, Niski would be fine in terms of the 1v1, but you never really want your Cassio off in the side lane. Because she's pretty slow, she doesn't have a lot of dashes, and her wave clear is pretty solid along with the zone control she provides. You kind of want to keep her group with the team, and that's kind of what Splyce are working towards, but it is that late game team fighting that they have their eyes on, and also that Baron threat. They have a very fast Baron taking team, and even though Schalke have a big lead, they do have to be conscientious of if they for a second lose vision control around that objective, Splyce could look to very quickly steal it away.
Should never happen for Schalke, but it can. We have seen them do this earlier. Definitely been an issue before, but as you highlighted here, Niski he's kind of the one who can push out the waves, so it feels like he has to be almost everywhere on the map. The problem is when he goes top lane without these turrets, and if Nukedog is there, the moment he jumps forward, Niski has to run because he doesn't know if anyone else is showing up. You know, bot lane, Chachi got that turret. I feel like the Sion pick, we might have hyped it up slightly more than what it's been able to do, but it was just based on a ban into a first rotation pick. I think Chachi said, you know what, I'll happily trade Sion for Poppy because it's my Poppy.
Yeah, Chachi's pretty happy with that. Undefeated on the Poppy across the course of this split, so in a very strong position. Schalke are about 5,000 gold ahead as we crest the 20-minute mark, and well in shape to take the second game of this series. Splyce still looking to scale, still have the Vayne and the Cassio. They have options, but they need to delay Schalke if they're going to come to fruition.
Well, that's their ultimate goal, but you can already see that it is a 4-tower advantage in favor of Schalke. They have full vision control across the entirety of the river. Baron is alive, and I don't expect them to force it in the near future, but preventing Splyce from being able to get near that objective is definitely what they want to be doing. And we'll see now how well Schalke can use this mid-game spike, because last game it was a little slow from the side of Splyce.
This game you have 3 fully completed items on your AD carry. And you're looking at a Vayne on the other side with 1.5.
Yes.
And a Vayne who has to sit mid lane against this AD carry, by the way, who will get pushed back all the time. She can never properly trade as long as Upset is sitting there and respecting where Copy is going to be on the map, and he can see the Vayne. Like, let's see. Okay, now you can hit the minions a little bit, but what's happening elsewhere on the map? Top side, maybe they do something bot lane, they can look for something like... There are so many ways for Schalke to play this because they're against a comp that really can't defend.
And you talked about how hard it is for Vayne to farm. Just now, Kobe at level 11. He was 2 levels down against Upset. Now, levels are really valuable, especially in the mid-game. You already saw how much damage Nukedog could do before. You mentioned it, Medic, the 3-level advantage, and now Nukedog.
Flash away, Nukedog with the second charge of that W. He'll get to safety.
Did not get hit by the poison. That was pretty huge for Nukedog. Obviously, still had the flash available.
Schalke
Now we get the answer.
They can get it. Amazing coming in from the side. They know there's no flash on Niski. Can't jump forward with that miasma down, and Niski plays well to keep himself safe.
Turns out amazing. Much more afraid of snake bites than he initially thought. Walk back away from that one, but still maintaining control of the topside jungle. They constantly get the mid push, which means that they're always the first ones to roam. And while Niski was close to getting a solo kill onto Nukedog, he wasn't quite able to pull it off.
He's gonna be mad. He finally had full vision of all Schalke players. He knew there's a bit of time here for me to try and all in. And then the mobility of a LeBlanc is what keeps her alive. Copy still trying to get to his second item. After this, he needs an Eye Edge, which is still a very expensive item for him to get. I think at this point, Splyce need to hope for an actual fight where Copy picks up a bunch of kills. That, to me, feels like the only way back in the game for this AD carry. He's not going to get enough time to farm. So it's up to everyone else around him to actually carry before he gets to 3 items right now. And that is a big problem for Splyce.
It's something that's worked out for Splyce in the past, though. I look back to Spring as we see a fight erupt in the mid lane. Lots of damage onto Xerxes. He's going to survive with the subjugate. Keeps himself alive. He'll use as well from Kobe. Maybe this is the fight they need. They get one. Niski kills Upset. Teleport in behind him as well. And Bando and Amazing might be nuked out. Nukedog with the flank. Petrifying Gaze came out too early from Niski. The stun does lock him against the wall. Bando tries to cleanse away from Odoamne, but that Sion is not giving up any ground at all. Nukedog caught up towards the top side here as well, but Splyce might look towards the Baron.
But now 2 members are dead from Schalke. Splyce can push out mid and gain control around the Baron. They have a right stun on Nukedog, though. Niski needs to be careful.
Gonna get knocked up. There's the Black Shield as well. Niski keeps himself alive with the barrier. Can he get enough damage down? No! Nukedog takes him out, and then Nukedog falls to Kobe. There's a kill. There's a shutdown for the Vayne.
Yeah, this is so huge for Splyce. We literally just said they need a fight where Kobe picks up kills. Otherwise, they're gonna keep sitting here and just losing turrets without being able to do anything. Schalke forced the engage. It looked great. Look, they were gonna kill the Trundle instantly, but Xerxes just gets out and does not go down.
And the crucial mistake comes from Upset as he tries to jump in for that kill onto the miasma. Niski sees the opportunity with a good binding from Kassane.
And just missed a Q before this that would have killed Xerxes. Before any of this actually happened. I think Niski's doing the right thing, expecting the jump from Nukedog to try and stun him instantly. They've already won the fight at this point. The only one who can do something is, of course, the LeBlanc. They don't want to face check onto him, even though they land the binding, and eventually they do pick up another kill. Shot down for Copy. It was a 4-kill LeBlanc right there for Schalke.
That is a lot of burst coming out from the LeBlanc. Does end up getting that kill, as you highlighted, Deficio. But more importantly, 2 kills went on to Kobe. The Vayne now 2, 2, and 4. Completed the rapid fire cannon and a BF sword. Splyce have their eyes on that late game team fight win condition, and it is now a lot more realistic than it was before.
And in the last game, it was Triple Infernal happening. In this game, it's been Oceans and Cloud Drakes. Obviously, Schalke have not secured them, but it's not been the same kind of thing where they could focus on securing some Drake like the Infernal one, where they could use that to gain a better late game for themselves. They were not actually valued getting any of the current ones, trying to instead get something on the top side as we saw much earlier. Might be a battle of the 80 carries all of a sudden. One is a Vayne, however.
Yeah, you have to look at both these 80 carries as key carries for their team. Upset across the course of the split. 7 games on this Ezreal, 5-2 has been a player that, as the franchise man for Schalke, has really stepped up. Kobe, on the other hand, you look back to Spring Split, you look back to the start of that, he was the main carry for this team, and he has consistently been performing for Splyce.
And you look at the statistics, the goal percentage, very even for both teams, or for both 80 carries, rather. The damage percentage both very high, but what's also really important to recognize is how impactful these two players have been in these late game fights. Think back to that Fnatic versus Splyce matchup. We talked about it earlier. Kobe was one of the key reasons why they were able to stall out so long against that squad. Now he's on a Vayne. Whereas Upset, he gets his signature champion. 5-2, you mentioned it, Ned. He's so comfortable, especially in these late game fights, that you can never count this man out, even in the late game.
And he's gonna look back at that last fight and be so angry, because that Q that just went wide against Cersei when he was actually just standing right in front of him was what actually made him jump forward like he's done in the past and put himself at risk. Nukeduck jumping in.
Oh, almost kills Nisqy, can't quite do it. Odoamne was looking for the flank as well. He's going to use the unstoppable onslaught just to get himself back under this tower. It's chunked out just a little bit, but Nisqy has to back away, Xerxes has to back away, and we have to remember, Schalke are still 4,000 gold ahead in this game.
And while Upset will be very important for Schalke's success, Nukeduck is going to be pivotal too. Divisio, you talked about how the idea of LeBlanc falling off in the late game, yes, it can be very difficult for her to play these late game team fights, but what you just saw is exactly what she wants to do. It doesn't matter if she gets a kill or not. If you take 80% of a target's HP and just force them back, sieging and taking objectives becomes that much easier.
Yeah, and that's why I actually like her scaling, because she can keep doing this in the game. No squishy target can get enough MR to stop this kind of burst from Nukeduck. Ooh, Kobe, that's a big hit onto him. Did not get stunned. No black shield around. And this mid lane turret is very low.
Shot barrage. Oh, that's a little bit of a chunk as well. Kobe forced back 200 HP on him, but this mid lane tower has to fall. Upset. He's the one who's jumping forward. He's the one that's landing those Mystic Shocks and chunking out Splyce. And it means that Nukeduck can be in a side lane, can get the pressure on another point of the map.
And one thing that I do want to highlight is something we talked a lot about before coming into this series, Divisio, is how Schalke use their side lanes. Because if you just look at the minimap, you'll see that Schalke do a great job of just constantly having minion waves barraging onto Splyce's base, and then they can use it to group up and start forcing objectives like the Baron.
No one's checking just yet. Cersei tried, got forced out by Nukeduck. 2 blue trinkets are available, so they should be able to spot this on the side of Splyce as long as someone is making the call to go check it. And now that Schalke has been missing for so long, they should move in.
Not the quickest Baron on the side of Schalke. Splyce going to push forward. Schalke trying to turn it back around up towards Odo. There's the Glacial Fisher. The stun lock. Vander solo. Nisqy in the backline still alive. Kobe chunked out. Vander down. Odo down as well. But he's going to go zombie form. And he's going to wail away on Vizicachi. Nisqy stepping up. Nukeduck looking for that flank. Can't quite get it. Upset caught out, but he gets away. Nisqy with the chase. Landing the bangs in the back of the franchise man. Kobe trying to escape from Nukeduck here. Nukeduck has nowhere to go. The Condemn doesn't quite connect. Nukeduck will survive for now.
I think just before this, Kasing landed a max range binding onto Upset that forced the QSS, and then he flashed after, which meant Nisqy could actually get onto him. With the Cassiopeia, take down the 80 carry of Schalke, and once again, Baron did not die. Splyce keep buying time. Infinity Edge should be completed very soon for Kobe, and they've managed to get past a very rough mid-game where we highlighted before. 3 items on the 80 carry of Schalke, 1.5 on the side of Splyce, and yet they still did not lose the big objective.
Whew, really close game once again between Schalke and Splyce. This has been one of our most competitive playoffs, and we've only just began. As we do jump into this fight, you can see that it all starts off with really a battle between 2 of the big bruisers, and Odo goes down just as quickly as Braum does.
Nukeduck wants to get into the back line, but he can't in time, and now look at the binding from Kasing. Flying over the wall onto Upset here. Max range, he's too late. That means he forces the QSS out of himself, and then he has to flash after. And what happens when Nisqy goes onto him? Well, there's no E, there's no flash. He's not going to survive, and suddenly the 80 carry is dead.
And Kobe using absolutely everything at his disposal to get away from Nukeduck, who is hunting him down.
Oh, whoa!
But he finds it.
Goodbye, Kobe!
The Huntress becomes the hunted as Nukeduck finally finds himself the one shot. Kobe without the heal and no escapes means that Schalke now have 5 members running it down mid.
Level 16, 3 items completed, a ton of magic penetration on his side, almost dealing true damage against Kobe right there. And it doesn't matter you're losing a bunch of fights if Nukeduck can keep doing this. He's right now hard carrying Schalke.
It's the year of the duck as Schalke push for this inhibitor. 30 minutes in, they're going to break the base of Splyce. They get the inhib. Splyce cannot answer without their AD carry, and now Schalke finally have found a use for this 5,000 gold advantage. And Nukeduck just played that perfect.
So that was a mimic of the distortion
Yeah, the
into
W.
the sigil into E. Those 3 abilities, and he was able to one-shot.
Oh, he's trying again. Kobe, come to the brush.
But they should have spotted him out on that control ward. So far, no pings have come down.
Depends how he got there.
Yeah.
If he just walked back from the inhibitor when they took it, he could have just stayed in that bush. Misty,
Gotta be suspicious here. Here we go.
He's coming.
done the middle flank, straight onto Kobe. Black shield used, and Kobe pops his ultimate as well. Goes invis for a moment. Misty maybe looking to rejoin this fight if he can.
Just look at the amount of pressure he applies by just showing up. Because Niski might think to himself, oh, I gotta try and ult towards him. Kasing might try and bind towards him. They have to protect Kobe every single time he moves forward. And that's kind of the power of a LeBlanc who has the control of the map and can do this. Hide in brushes, move in from the side. Mountain Drake for Schalke. Can be important for securing the upcoming Baron. That's still not been killed for the first time in this game here. It's been one of those mid-games where we've been fighting instead of actually setting up for Baron all the time.
Now, we have talked a lot about Nukeduck. We've also got to keep our eyes on Niski because he's been integral in a lot of these fights. 4-2 and 4 so far in this game. He had a phenomenal game 1 on Syndra, and he's looking to do the same thing again on this Cassio. Her late game damage is disgusting on a single target, but it means that champions like Poppy can just melt, especially when you look at the amount of magic resistance he has. He is quite limited, and this Cassio will just melt through that front line much faster than Schalke can initially expect. So they have to play these fights cautiously because in a straight-up 5v5 where 2 just play front to back, Splyce will just wipe the floor with Schalke.
Well, second game in a row where we get to big late game team fights. Definitely been a more action-packed game too. A lot of people forcing engages on the side lanes, and
8 kills instead of 4.
I mean, it's a big difference.
Kills each.
Exactly, it's each. Before it was just 4 in total.
That's true, that's true.
So it is definitely a big difference here, but we're still in the late game now. And while Splyce are down, and while Nukeduck seems to be able to just one-shot people left and right, Splyce is still in this game. Like, they have not lost more than just a single mid inhib.
And let's think about, like, look at that gold grab. It is a 6.3k gold lead in favor of Schalke, yet Splyce are still fighting back. They're challenging Schalke at every opportunity, and they are not making this a free quarterfinal for the side of Schalke.
It is important to note, however, if Splyce lose a single fight, game is most likely done. Schalke can then push into that base and get down the squishy Nexus turrets. They're starting up the Baron again with 2 members, Chachi and Upset. Once again, Splyce around, blue trigger for Kobe. Ooh, Nukeduck.
Schalke once again have those side lanes pushing in as well. We talked about pressure on the rest of the map. They can wait this one out a little bit as those waves push towards Splyce. Nukeduck jumps in, hits Odo, but not going to be the target you want at the moment. Kobe has picked up his Hex Drinker as well, so maybe it's just a little bit safer against this LeBlanc.
It's so hard for Splyce, so they want long fights with Cassiopeia in the vein. They might get one.
Call out, look at the shred! That is a very dead Gragas, and now Splyce can turn around. Vanda puts up the Unbreakable. Chachi jumps in, only knocks away 1, and it's the Trundle. That's not the one you wanted. Nukeduck, what can you do in this fight? Can you find the flank? Can you find the perfect moment to jump in? Not quite yet. Odoamne's on the chase. Chachi trying to get away, but he's bound up in the dark binding, and now Schalke have to run.
The front line is dead for Schalke. Only the carries are left. Upset and Nukeduck have to make the plays if they want to stop Splyce getting this back.
They can do it. Nukeduck jumps forward. Upset, landing Mystic Shot after Mystic Shot.
Yeah, Splyce cannot go Baron because then they might lose the entire base. All of Schalke staying around the mid lane is so important here with the super minion. They make sure Splyce just go back, have to kill all the minion waves. They can't get anything else.
And we highlighted it earlier. Whenever Schalke try to make a play, they make sure that their sideways are pushed in. And look at the pressure it created on the map. Nukeduck now looking for a pick.
Oh, can he kill Kasing? The ethereal chase, not enough through the Zhonya's. Kasing keeps himself alive for the moment.
Got to see that last fight, however, how quickly they can actually kill the front line of Schalke. Important note, though, is how Niski's always looking to Nukeduck. He put down the miasma here to try and stop Nukeduck from actually dashing into the back of Splyce. Let's see the moment again.
Just been so impressed with Niski in this game, but it all starts off with a binding at the start, combined with the pillar into Condemn, and they just melt through that front line. Then Chachi tries to get the disengage and then lock down Poppy, but Nukta cannot get into the flank because Kasing is there, Odo is there, and that's when the front line starts to melt.
And then Niski just fully denies it with the pillar as well. And in the end, Chachi will go down. Schalke, however, as we highlighted before here, they do not lose the Baron because of the setup on the map, because they have got that mid inhib killed already. Yeah, that's what you wanted. I mean, you sacrificed your first 30 minutes of the game to get this. So you better get it if you're Splyce.
You want that Vayne doing all the damage she can in these fights. Still a 4,000 gold lead for Schalke, and there were just moments when, if you're a Splyce fan, you're probably looking at this game and you're thinking it's very reminiscent of game one. You're getting to these late game team fights, you're winning them, but you're not getting anything out of them.
It's true, but if you're a Splyce fan, you've been here before.
Yeah.
You still look at the clock saying, we're not even at 45 minutes yet.
It's early game.
How are we gonna win?
Game.
Yeah, we have 10 more minutes to go before Splyce really starts playing League of Legends. And it's just been their style. Like, they don't want to risk too many things in the early game. And also with this draft, they were kind of, you know, risking falling very far behind, which they did. By the fact they still didn't lose a Baron. 35 minutes in, it's been huge.
So the Baron starts up once again by Chachi and Upset. Splyce grouping up as 5, trying to get the push in. Means that they are aware that this is going on. Will they be able to get into the pit and stop it?
8,000 HP on it. Xerxes already down to half HP, but has the subjugate. Nukduck looking to find the ward in there. Odoamne is going to jump away. Nukduck leaps away as well with the distortion. Baron resets.
That's a big ulti use from Odoamne. His engage tool is now gone, and Chachi and Upset are still on top of the Baron.
How many times have we seen Chachi step up in this sort of situation, looking for that keeper's verdict? Watch the Poppy ultimate. Nukduck still has the flank, but there's control ward there, and Niski knows that Nukduck is there. 5,000 HP left on the Baron. Splyce trying to fight this one, but Nukduck still looking for that flank if he can find it. Can't quite find it yet. 5,000 HP still on that Baron. Schalke have stopped it for the moment. They're just keeping it aggroed.
This is very tense. So many summoner spells are available, and Odo's ulti is actually almost back up.
Splyce, in this moment, this is where you can win a series. You go to the line, that's not what you know. Nukduck's got caught. Cobby looking for the kill here. They find it, and Nukduck is down, and now Schalke have to run for the wins. Splyce can look for the Baron if they want. Another binding! Upset. QSS gets himself out of that, but here comes the unstoppable onslaught. Look at that. Niski knocked away by Chachi, perhaps. That's what Schalke need to win this fight. Vanda puts up the unbreakable. Upset on the back line, just raining hell down with the mystic shots. Kasing almost goes down. Vanda will be the next to fall. Jumps away, keeps himself safe, but Odo says not today. He gets one. The stun landing from Upset. Amazing caught out in the midst of it all, and Splyce find the perfect fight. There's it. Chachi tries to come into the end. Upset flashing forward. He thinks he can do something in this moment. Niski! Hello, playoffs, Niski! Hello, Splyce! And goodbye, Schalke, no fear!
Splyce with a massive team fight against Schalke, find themselves 4 kills, will make their way towards the Baron. This is the late game win condition of Splyce. Schalke fans get into panic mode.
Oh, Kasing flashing in, getting the bind, and just jump back into it and ends up dying.
Ooh, good binding there from Kasing, but fatal mistake from Nukduck enables Splyce to have the numbers advantage and dive straight onto the backline. Chachi does what he can by knocking Niski out of the fight, but then Splyce, they come in from the chase. Initially, things are looking pretty bad for Splyce because they think with Upset getting a lot of free damage off on the backline and the rest of Splyce kind of being separated, they can't get those kills, but poor positioning there from Amazing enables Splyce to get the rest of these kills. And the rest is just cleaner.
Oh, Niski with the final flash, and you can see Upset. He is raining so much damage down in this fight, but Niski says, I can catch him, I can flash forward. Splyce have got the Baron off the back of that. They're looking to catch up Nukduck in this bottom lane as well. Inhib respawned in the mid for Splyce as well. The gold perfectly even. Kasing not burst down by Niski, by Nukduck. Oh, Cobby though, not in the best of shots. Oh, he dodges back. He dodges back and keeps himself safe. He was invisible. And here comes the flank. Upset, you need to get away from Odoamne. The cleanse. Glacial Fisher used just in time. There's still a tower down here for Schalke, but look at him. Knocked up, he's done. And now perhaps Splyce will just look for the tower dive. They've got the tanks, they've got all they need. But they decide for the moment they want to back away.
Welcome to playoffs, baby. Splyce with some fact.
Oh, what? No!
It's a boss!
Pause.
In the hype moment.
Oh, it looks like Chachi was just about to die.
Caught under the tower.
He's definitely dead.
He's so dead.
It's gonna be 2 kills for Splyce. we have definitely reached the late game now. They waited so long to get here, where now they actually have damage from 2 carries. Of course, Niski has done it all game long, but finally the Vayne is able to kill people.
And I just find it so hilarious, Division. You made the point like 35 minutes into the game, Splyce fans thinking, what do you mean? We're not worried. It's not even the early game yet. And we get to the Baron. It comes down to such a big fight. And then it was Kasing that makes that clutch play flash into binding. This guy, throughout the split, has not really stood out. But when we always thought about some of the great performances he's had, it has always been on these range supports and on Morgana to make this kind of a play, to have that bravado, to flash onto a LeBlanc was exactly the way in which you want to start that fight and get a big team fight.
And he's landing like 3 or 4 bindings a fight as well.
Yeah, he got the one on Upset earlier that also was a huge win when Schalke was supposed to win every single fight. Now it suddenly feels like they can't actually win the team fights against Splyce anymore. And again, this is why we look at this series and say, you know what, this is probably 5 games, because you get teams who can win early game, but then they can't close out in time. They're not aggressive enough around a Baron. They're too afraid of potentially a steal, and they don't get the right engage.
Calculated, I would say.
It's just both teams have now shown that they can actually beat the other ones in the early game, but then the other team has shown they can defend long enough to reach the late game.
But you've also got to bring into question, it's just that use of a mid-game advantage. Both teams so far have demonstrated an inability to properly force. They have not been that super proactive team, especially when we think of Splyce. When we think about when they had a lot of success last split, it was off the back of Zeus and these early game plays, and so far that hasn't been how these teams have been winning. It's come down to these clutch, crucial late game fights.
As epic as the game has been thus far, we are in a pause, and I just want to inform everyone as to what is going on. Players are reporting in-game audio bugs. Our league officials are investigating what's happening, if there is a root cause, if the bugs are happening. We'll find out exactly what's going on for you guys and tell you as soon as possible. But I'm just, this game has been epic, this series has been epic, and it seems like at any moment, any of these 10 players can stand up and be counted.
If you like late game fights, this is definitely the series for you right now. If you're more into insanely clean 20-minute Baron snowballs, you're not getting it yet. You might get it later, but it's why we get into late game so often now here in Game 1 and Game 2, of course. Fun fact, Splyce has not even killed a turret in this game. I just noticed from looking and being like, oh wait, that's an out on tier 1. They're actually about to take down after killing Chachi. And that's kind of highlighting how far down they've actually been in this game, not being able to push anything.
But only 10 minutes ago, they were 6,000 gold behind. They're now leading by about 1,000 gold. This game seems to have totally turned on its head.
This team was down like 6,000 gold for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, from like 20 minutes into the game.
And that just kind of illustrates how, yes, Schalke they do a lot of things right. They apply pressure in the right places, they find good picks, but it's just been a couple of small mistakes. Upset, missing that Q, diving in, getting himself killed. Nukduk not quite being able to find the flanks and kill off those crucial carries. Amazing, getting caught out of position.
We're going to take some time for league officials to investigate what's going on, so we're going to hand it over to Shox on the analyst desk. Thank you very much, Shox. Just as an update for everyone, members of Schalke 04 reported they were unable to hear the Sion ultimate in the prior teamfight that has just happened. After reviewing the shadow play, League officials determined the sound effect for Sion's ultimate did play, and there was no game bug. We will be resuming the game where it paused, which is with Vizicachi underneath the tower, not in the best of shapes.
Definitely going to die in just a second when we get back into the game, and Splyce will secure their first turret. And now this is such a tough spot for Schalke because they pause, it's not successful for them. They've been losing 2 fights in a row. They're now watching a late game Splyce run towards their base.
Splyce have the Baron, they have a 3,000 gold lead. They're looking for these towers down towards the bottom side. Upset still 20 seconds away, Chachi 40 away as well. Schalke looking to defend.
Yeah, so Splyce now 5 members strong. We heard Joker say it on the Destination brute force. There's nothing standing in their way. Wave clear on the side of Schalke is pretty much non-existent. They might look to just end the game right now.
Yeah, they're looking for it with that Baron, but pushing in double cannon minion here as well. Upset on his way, 8 seconds away. Amazing. Grounded underneath the tower. One Nexus tower is going to fall. Splyce have turned this game right around on its head. Odoamne just standing in front of Nuke Duck, and Splyce are going to strike back in this quarterfinal.
Very quick end to the game from the side of Splyce. They literally did bulldoze it down the bot lane. Sion leading the forefront.
And this game, man, this game really, there's a lot for Splyce after losing game 1 when they felt like they were actually controlling